Welcome. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell, share the show. Thank you for listening. This is Joey. Let's get started. Today, as we creep into the 2024 election time, it's almost November. I want this topic to be about, for Black people, I want this topic to be about victory. This is something that we don't ever really think about as Black folks when it comes to politics. Shout out to Jason Black, the Black Authority. I'm paraphrasing here, so bear with me, but he mentioned one time in an episode a long time ago that Black people are mostly just, when you don't have a strategy, when you don't have approach, when you don't have a prime directive in something, you're really just kind of reacting to stimuli, right? And that's the perfect way to describe Black people's political experience here in America, primarily since the 1960s. We're usually just reacting to something horrible that's happened to us. And we never have the time to sit down and think, what do we want? What is victory in politics for us? Proven by the fact that there is no Black agenda. Not from the Democratic Party, not from anybody, not from any Congressional Black Caucus members, not from any Black politician, not from any Black think tank group. There are no Black think tanks. There are no Black think tanks. It's just people telling Black folks what to do. And Black people don't really have an agenda or a prime directive in politics to determine what's our North Star as far as victory. When you don't have a goal, there's no way to see what your progress is, right? And people are able to tell you what your progress is. What I'm proposing in this episode is what is a victory for Black people politically. And the first thing that I would want to say is throw 2024 away. Throw away any hopes of getting anything as a result of 2024's election, at least in 2024. It's a waste of time to be hoping that at the last minute, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party is going to, quote unquote, give us something, right? It's not realistic. But what is totally realistic and what's totally doable, what's completely feasible, is sending the message in 2024 that the Black community is done. Black community is done not just with the Democratic Party, but with the two-party system as a whole, right? And here's what I mean. We have to send a message to the Democratic Party that we're dead ass serious as Black people, that you're going to have to come earn our vote. A victory for the Black community in 2024, in the 2024 election, doesn't look like, well, the Democrats have come out of the huddle and they've decided to give Black people reparations first before the election. That's not going to happen. You got about 2 weeks to go. Anything that you would get promised at this point would be just that, a promise. And the Democratic Party has shown you as recently as the last election that they will straight up tell you some shit that they have no intentions to do. Ask the Black voters in Georgia, right? That doesn't mean anything. What your goal is for 2024, what will be a victory for 2024, to be honest with you, is going to be a Trump win. Doesn't mean that you want Trump to win or you think Trump's going to be your savior or you're putting all your faith in Trump. Doesn't mean that. A Trump win is a Democratic Party loss. Period. It's a Democratic Party loss. And a Democratic Party loss, because the Democrats didn't take the Black vote seriously, is going to cause some serious soul searching for the Democratic Party. And we're going to go over what the fallout would be. I don't think we understand fully as Black people and as Black voters and as American voters in general just how far on the edge of utter destruction we are as Black people. A Democratic Party victory would all but assure that your voting power is completely erased. You would be like how Black people are in California, but all over the country. The Democratic Party's been pretty clear to you that their intention is to replace you as a voting bloc with immigrants. Whether or not they're successful in that, this voting turn or the next voting turn or the next voting turn after that, that remains to be seen. But it's been pretty clear that that's the goal. So right off the bat, you want to set the Democratic Party back a little bit, back a great deal. And there's no better way to do it than to make sure that Donald Trump gets in office. Donald Trump, the second he gets in, he's going to be working up a number 6 on the Democratic Party. He's going to be going in a whomping and a stomping and getting rid of all his political enemies the way they were getting rid of him. He's going to be going in, cleaning out the deep state, piece by piece. And while he's doing that, what that does is it causes chaos and subterfuge in the machine that's trying to break you down. Right? That's what you want, number one. Number two, it sends a message for 2028. Black folks are the only people in this election that are really voting for 2028, not 2024. Come 2028, you want the Democratic Party going into that election cycle, going into the midterms and eventually the presidential cycle, knowing that black folks was dead ass serious about not voting for you if you come at us with that bullshit. That's what the seriousness has to be. We have to be able to deliver some consequence to the Democratic Party. It's been too much fun and games with them. If you keep telling somebody you want tangibles, you want this, you want that, and they still keep coming to you with cookout fish nuggets, catfish nuggets, and flat booty twerking and Meg the Stallion, clearly they're not taking you seriously as a threat. Clearly they're thinking, I mean, we've heard this language be used. Oh, the black vote will, quote unquote, get in line eventually, right? So a message has to be sent at that point. Like we all know in real life, even as adults, there comes a point sometimes where hands got to be thrown. We tell people violence is never the answer, but in reality, we know that depends on the question, right? There are some times where the disrespect gets so deep, violence comes into play. Now, I'm not advocating for that here, but violence is consequences. And here, the consequences, rather than violence, the consequences are no vote. The consequences are no vote. And worse than that, just a no vote isn't good enough. I want to actually agree with Yvette Carnell. You deciding to just choose the couch this year, that's not going to do it. That's not going to send the right message. Because if a bunch of black people decide not to vote, the message isn't going to be, I mean, the message will slightly be, black voters didn't turn out like they normally do. There's a problem with the Democratic Party and the black voter. But it's going to be looked at as a turnout issue. Oh, we didn't send the right message to them. We didn't message to black voters how much the Democratic Party has done for them and why they owe us. Oh, it was those black men that just didn't turn out because, they don't never do their part like the good black women do. They're good little girls. That's not the message we want to send. You want the message to be, damn, black voter turnout. The number of black voters who came in and showed up to vote was about the same, if not higher, in this election. Black voter turnout didn't dip. But where the black vote turned up, that was a big difference. You get a bunch of people that normally vote loyally Democrat, and you look at the numbers, and now a good amount of them have split off and gone Republican. And not only split off and gone Republican, it's not like they turned around and voted for Mitt Romney. They turned around and voted for the guy that the Democratic Party put all their eggs in the basket of, paint this guy like an evil, racist dictator, antichrist. And niggas still voted for him. That's a message. That's a message to the Democratic Party. You have pissed this voter base off. And for you to have the most loyal, most dedicated, most ardent voter base all of a sudden turn on you, that's an indictment on you. It's not like Donald Trump came along and started offering black folks something so much better than what you normally offer that we just couldn't refuse. No, it's that you haven't offered black folks anything of anything real. And now here we are. You want the Democratic Party going into 2028 realizing that they got a problem on their hands. And see, 2024 to 2028 is not enough time to get these immigrant votes in line to vote for you in 2028. It's not going to be enough time, especially when you got Donald Trump and the Republicans going to be kicking 90% of them out. See, now you're in Brian McKnight start back at one status if you're the Democratic Party. That plan that you were trying to enact, now it's foiled. The Republicans see what you're doing. Black folks see what you're doing. And you almost had enough time to pull it off. But if 2024 doesn't go down like you think, if 2024 doesn't go down like you're planning, you're in a world of trouble if you're the DNC. And black folks need to make sure that that happens. The entire purpose of why our government is set up with these three branches the way it is to make sure, as the founding fathers intended, was to make sure that no one group or no one person can collect total power. So you can't have a dictator. These three branches of government are meant to be in contention with each other and not really work as cohesively as they should, so that there's always a conflict of power. That's the whole point. And when you look around and you look at the Democratic Party, listen, man, I'm older. I've seen a lot of presidents. I've seen a lot of presidential elections. I've been into politics since I was a little kid. I've been watching CNN since Bernie Casey was telling you this is CNN. I've been around a long time. And I've seen a lot of stuff. And I've seen a lot of stuff in this presidential election era, I'll say the post Hillary Clinton era. We'll say the Hillary Clinton era on, that I've never seen before. I've never seen. You always have a partisan media. You always have a partisan left-wing media in MSNBC, a partisan right-wing media in Fox News. And even they didn't used to be so overtly partisan back then, right? But you would always have regular media, CNN, even the MSNBC money channels and stuff like that. You would always have generally impartial or people that had special interest, right? That were beyond party loyalty. I've never seen in all my time all of the media be 100% in for one candidate, up to and including the point that for our favorite candidate, we will ignore all the obvious missteps and flaws and issues with that candidate. We will sit back and ignore everything that this person's doing obviously wrong. And we're going to zero in and laser focus and exaggerate the candidate we don't like. I've never seen the entire media be so overtly in the tank for one candidate as I've ever seen when it comes to Donald Trump. I've never seen the entire media apparatus be completely against somebody like this, ever. And just out in the open. Just as a brief recap, remember, after the 2020 election, they put out an article. I can't remember who it was. It might have been the New York Times. There was an article put out where they flat out told you in so many words how all of media colluded together to, as they put it, quote unquote, save democracy. But as it really was, how the entire media apparatus came together to rig things in a certain direction. They flat out told you. See, when the Democratic Party says save democracy, they're not really talking about the system of government where all the people get a vote. They're not talking about actual democracy. When the Democratic Party is talking about saving democracy, they really just mean saving the Democratic Party. They really just mean saving the Democratic Party. I've never seen the media so in for one outcome before in any election. And I've seen some very partisan elections. It wasn't like this during the George W. Bush era when half the country didn't feel like he was even the president. And it didn't even come down to a vote. It came down to an attorney general selection in Florida, right? Like, I've never seen the entire media apparatus and the entire intelligence agencies, the intelligence community, all leaning overtly on one side for one candidate and one outcome. I've never, even if you can tell that these people have leanings one way or another, there's usually kind of an unwritten rule that there's a little bit of decorum in how you handle yourself, right? I've never seen debates where we only fact check one person. We give the other person questions in advance so that they can prepare. Remember, Roland Martin got fired from CNN for feeding Hillary Clinton the answers to questions in advance. Now, that's just open practice. That's super weird. I've never seen that. And it causes me to wonder, what are they so nervous about? I've never seen a former president get indicted on anything. Yeah, I've seen people get pressed to be indicted. I remember Ken Starr chasing Bill Clinton around for his last 4 years. I remember that. But we all knew once it was all said and done, people are going to get pardoned and the impeachment was going to get dismissed and yada, yada, yada. It was just pomp and circumstance. They're really indicting Donald Trump. I've never seen this level of what's called lawfare, where you use the intelligence community, the FBI, the CIA, et cetera, and the justice departments to go after a political enemy like that. That's something that you would see in Brazil. I've never seen that openly in America before, ever. I've never seen a president get coddled the way Joe Biden did up until that first debate, right? Like, we totally forget. Joe Biden's had a series of not just missteps, not just him having gaffes and having senior moments. I'm not talking about that stuff yet. We'll put all that to the side. I'm talking about whatever policies and deals that he was able to put a signature on and be coherent enough to enact, right? You have literal World War III, and I mean actual nuclear war, World War III, Armageddon level, like biblical levels of war striking up in the Middle East. Exactly the way it's described in the Bible, right? Real weird, scary stuff. And you got sleepy Joe Biden just asleep at the wheel, co-signing everything. You have a very weak president in office that's co-signing actual genocide, right? I've never seen somebody talk about how someone's a dictator and they're going to be a dictator on day one while actually being a real dictator in real life in the Democratic Party. I've never seen that before. I've never seen the Democratic Party or any party openly get caught getting in the way of democracy, right? Stopping third-party candidates, getting people taken off the ballots, rigging their primaries. Remember, the Democratic Party has been caught and openly admitted to rigging their primaries. That whole thing was brought up in a lawsuit over the Bernie Sanders Hillary Clinton primary, where the Democratic Party in court, how they won the court case was they flat out said, hey, look, we're a private corporation. This primary process that we do is really just pageantry. We can take this money that we said is going to go to whatever and spend it on whatever we want for our candidates. It's all just proceedings. It's not real. We choose who gets elected. We choose who moves up with us. This was straight up said in a court case that they won based off of that the entire primary process is fake. And that was 2016. 2020, they just dropped all proceedings and canceled the primary altogether. They canceled the primary altogether, told you Joe Biden was the guy, then switched and gave it to Kamala Harris, who has not received a single vote in a single voting proceeding at all. And remember, Kamala Harris was the person that the donor class wanted in 2020. They didn't want Joe Biden. They wanted Kamala Harris. But as I've given credit to before, Kamala Harris was the first scalp of ADOS. That was the first head that Yvette Carnell collected to prove her legitimacy. Making sure that Kamala Harris didn't get elected. When black folks started taking down the idea of Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris wasn't getting any votes in the primary, that was because of talking points and subjects that Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore brought up. Got to give credit where credit is due. Nobody else. Nobody else. These are facts. So she ended up having to settle and get put on as a vice president. which I suspect that what we're having now was always the plan. Was always the plan. You just sat here and had an unprecedented moment of your president having to step down. You're in this weird position now where most people don't even know Joe Biden's still the president. Joe Biden's the invisible president for a few more weeks. Well, a few more months. He'll be president until January. I've never heard of some of the things that I'm seeing. I've never seen a presidential candidate and former president have multiple on-camera assassination attempts that the media just dismisses or even low-key kind of encourages, right? If you watch CNN and MSNBC after the first assassination attempt, they look disappointed. Breaking news, former President Donald Trump, there was a assassination attempt live on TV. Dumbass gunman missed. Like, wait a minute. I didn't know we could openly cheer. Like, there's been, I think, 2 presidential assassinations that were caught on camera. Well, one attempt, right? One was the attempt on Ronald Reagan. I think that was caught on camera. And the other one was JFK, of course. And these were big shames for America at the time, especially JFK. JFK was going into a very, very red Texas at the time. It was a very hostile environment, very hostile environment. And when he got killed there, people in Texas were very embarrassed because although they don't believe that a Texan did it, that environment was so toxic and so anti-JFK, it made Texas look bad. That was embarrassing. Flash forward to today, and people are loud and proud about the fact that they tried to kill Donald Trump. Up to and including denying that it even happened. Oh man, he's acting like his ear got hit, bro. His ear looked fine, bro. He's over there tripping. There's a lot of Democrats that believe that the assassination attempts are fake. They always take place after a bad debate or something by the Democratic Party. Whatever bad news hits the Democratic Party to the point to where they think they can't win, magically somebody tries to kill Donald Trump. And you just don't hear about it no more. Imagine if somebody tried to kill Kamala Harris right now. Imagine if there was an assassination attempt on Kamala Harris. The Democratic Party would be running with that shit like Jesse Owens. There was a racist, misogynistic, anti-Indian, anti-black, anti-LGBTQ. Did I mention racist attack on our president today? The flag's going to be held at a quarterstaff. This is a sad day for American history. Y'all pulled up on Trump 3 times. I think 2 times were confirmed. People were like, whatever, nigga, toughen up. I've never seen the scales tipped this hard against a presidential candidate ever in the history of America, ever. And for all that to be true, for all that, I haven't even mentioned all the trumped up, pun intended, all the trumped up, made up, exaggerated charges that y'all hit him with so that you could keep calling him a felon. All the stuff you went after him on, and you're still losing in the polls. The numbers still don't look right for you. And let me tell you what really scares the Democratic Party. You know what makes it really, 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 really hard? Is that the numbers are too far off to be worked. This might get this episode banned, but I'm just going to say it. The numbers are going to be too far off for you to fix them now. Sometimes the numbers are so far off, you can't really cook the books. You can't really work the taxes like you want to. It is what it is. And people know, even Democrats know, going in, it don't look good for Kamala Harris right now. And you're going to have a hard time explaining how you won the Electoral College, especially after you've been saying that the Electoral College is rigged against you all this time and you're going to win the popular vote. But You're going to have a hard time even arguing that you won the popular vote if most of your voter base is either against you right now or they're for you, but they're not enthusiastic about it. The Muslims ain't rocking with you like that. Your black voter base is gone. You lose half the voter base. You lose the men, you lose the women. You lose the women, you lose the men. The black vote's only powerful if the whole black vote show up. You can't start splitting shit. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And worst of all, Democratic voters are early voters, and these election races look tight. Republican voters are late voters. They usually vote on election day. So as of right now, you're behind right now. You're behind in battleground states right now with all the advantages and with your voters voting early. This should be the best numbers you're getting right now. Kamala Harris should be out to a huge lead with the early voters being primarily Democrat. In Democrat blue states, you should be at a huge lead. And the worry should be, oh my God, is Trump going to catch up by election day? Oh my goodness, is Trump going to catch up on election night? No, you're either neck and neck in most places or you're behind. And his guys are coming in the closer we get to election day. So you're going to have a hard time selling what might have happened in 2020, where the media admittedly came together to, quote unquote, save democracy. You're going to have a hard time selling to people in 2024 how Kamala Harris comes out as your president when the numbers don't add up. And we all know what group of people aren't going to be keen on accepting some funny numbers that result in their president not getting elected. Remember January 6th. It's going to be January 6th on steroids in a minute. That's what the big worry is. Their worry isn't that, oh, I'm worried that Kamala Harris might not get elected. They think they got that one in the bag. They're worried that the American people, a good portion of the American people, won't accept that Kamala Harris is the president from the election. That's always the fear of elections. That's why we tout the peaceful transfer of power here in America so much, because on average, most countries, most nations, they don't just accept the election results like they do here. And it's not just the Republicans you got to worry about doing that. If Donald Trump comes out, when no matter who ends up winning the election this year, the other side is going to claim cap. It's real funny how we get mad at, oh, the Republicans in January 6th, and they didn't acknowledge that the election was legit. And that's it. But 2016, y'all was saying Russia got Donald Trump in, and that's not your president, and you ain't going to listen to him. You was doing the same shit. You was doing the same shit. So whatever side ends up winning, the losing side is not going to concede. The losing side's voters are not going to concede. This is going to cause chaos. And the black vote needs to take full advantage of that chaos. Chaos is a ladder, all right? Chaos is a ladder. We need the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, the Green Party, all parties in between, to know that the black vote is available. And we need to set the Democratic Party's progress back. One cycle for sure, maybe two. We've been playing the wrong game as black voters all this time. We don't realize that both of these parties in this two-party system are out to play us. And what our game needs to be is to constantly undermine both parties before one of them gets too much power over the other. You got to play both parties so that nobody gets too much power. And in the process, you get tangibles in the process. Now, what do I mean by that? Right now, the Democratic Party's goal was to replace you with a bunch of immigrants and make your voting power irrelevant, black people. The Democratic Party hates the idea that they got to go to you to get their candidates elected. But they're okay with it up until this point because you've been largely easy to manipulate. But now that we've gotten to the point to where black voters have reached political sentience, black people have awakened to the idea that neither of these parties mean us any good, and that politics is an exchange, and what are you giving me for my vote? Now that the black vote has reached their Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately stage, like Eddie Murphy put it, now you've become costly. Now you've become costly. Any moocher that's living with you rent free, the second you hit that nigga with an invoice, oh, guess what? They're going to move. They're going to try to move. You put a bill on something. Now, the Democratic Party was already making moves to replace you. But now, after 2024, if we make sure that we don't vote for the Democrats and we vote for Donald Trump on this one, they're going to be expediting those plans because now you're a liability. Now you're a liability. Don't think that by not voting for the Democrats in 2024, they're going to have some get right and we're going to make efforts to reach out to black voters. They're going to say that. But behind the scenes, their plans are going to be, how do we replace the black vote? We got to get more turnout from white voters. We got to get more turnout from immigrants. We got to get more turnout from XYZ and the third. Because what cannot be on the table with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party is making concessions to Negroes. That's bad for business. And I'll prove it. What's the number one thing that the Democratic Party says for why they can't do shit for black people? It's because other people will get mad. And other people meaning white folks, but really everybody not black will get mad. So if not giving things to black people is so important, specifically because other people will get mad, what do you think it's going to look like if the black vote starts running shit and making demands and giving ultimatums and having consequences that the Democratic Party has to adhere to? That's going to look horrible to white society. That's going to make white folks who vote Democrat no longer vote Democrat. That's the real reason why they can't give shit to black people, is because the perception, we can't have the perception that this is a nigger party like that. You can vote for us, but we can't be out here doing shit for you because now that makes it look like you run shit. I've even heard people say the phrase, the prisoners running the jail, the inmates running the prison. So that's letting you know right off the bat, they see you as a prisoner in their party and they can't have you running shit. You want the Democratic Party coming out of 2024 election. If the Democratic Party comes out of the 2024 election having lost, after all the political advantages, after having the entire media sway things completely in your favor, overtly, after having the intelligence community and the justice community go after all your political rivals, right? We're not just talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about Jill Stein, the Green Party, Cornel West, RFK, going after everybody, making sure there's only 2 candidates on the ballot, totally undermining democracy that you say you're trying to save. And then the Democrats will be on TV with the nerve of talking about, hey, man, you got to vote one or the other. There's only 2 candidates. Yeah, because you forced it to be that way. If the Democratic Party comes out of this election after having all the media advantage, after having all the intelligence community advantage, after having all the justice community advantage and lawfare and all these trumped up, pun intended, trumped up charges and indictments on a presidential candidate, after multiple assassination attempts with no investigation, right? If the Democratic Party comes out after all these advantages with a fat L, because you just couldn't give the black vote, who's been your loyalist and most important voter base, you just couldn't give the black vote anything. That's on you. And again, We're not talking about a bunch of black folks just not showing up. And they can say, oh, well, the blacks didn't turn up. You know, they're kind of lazy. No, no, no. The niggas showed up. The black folks came in droves and they went the other way. That's letting you know something. That's Michael Corleone giving Fredo the kiss and telling him, I knew it was you. You broke my heart. And the Democratic Party knows that. There's no way to tap dance out of that. Even white folks that understand that the goal was to not give black folks nothing are going to be like, I mean, geez, you could have gave them something, right? You could have gave them something. You could have gave black folks. You came out. See, they weren't expecting black people to be smart. Kamala Harris, after that whole Obama fiasco, she came out with that plan for black men, and she thought we were just stupid and was going to go, see, she got a plan. They didn't expect us to read that shit. They didn't expect us to actually read it and realize that that plan was just rehashed shit from the plan you already established for everybody. They didn't expect us to read it and realize that, wait a minute, what you mean to black communities and others, right? They didn't expect us to actually read and decipher this shit because they haven't really realized that we're not stupid no more. You could have gave black folks something. You'd have to give out reparations on day one or promise that on paper because we know that the Democratic Party has a history of promising black folks shit that they ain't really going to do. Remember Joe Biden in 2020. So we know that they're liars. But you could have came out, Kamala could have came out and been like, hey, look, okay, I'm going to give black men, I'm going to make a rule that's going to give black men a 40% better chance at winning their favorite sneakers on the Sneakers Nike app, okay? I know it's frustrating. When you go in to buy regular shoes, you can buy regular shoes with the card you have saved on file, okay? But when you go in to go buy them shoes that are on auction, when you go in to buy them shoes where there's a line, when you're trying to get those new ones, when you're trying to get those new 11s, oh, and Lord help you if they're the Space Jams, okay? All of a sudden, when you go to buy, Sneakers app is asking you to put in your credit card, and you got to go grab your credit card from your purse, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to lose because I got to put all this information in. I'm going to give black men a 40% better chance to win their favorite Jordans on the Sneakers app, okay? If I get elected, that's what I'm going to do. She'd have just said something like that. Niggas would have said, okay, she tried. You gave niggas nothing. In an era where black folks have seen, we're seeing what you're doing for the immigrants because you're moving them in our communities. We see. You know, people like to use that Albert Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I don't agree with that. And Albert Einstein wasn't a psychologist, so I don't know why he gets attributed to that and people act like that's the definition of insanity, but that's another story. The definition of insanity in this case, well, it would fit that definition. We've been voting for Democrats for 60 years and expecting a different result, but that's not what I'm saying. The definition of insanity in this case, or something that would drive you insane, is seeing something with your own eyes, but being told by an authority figure that that's not what you're seeing. So now you got to adjust reality to their sensibilities, right? You're sitting there seeing whole damn immigrant gangs being formed and taking over apartment complexes and Tren de Agua running everywhere and being given $15,000 a month in rent and expenses from your tax dollars while your ass is out here homeless, right? Black folks all across the country are seeing this. And when we complain about this, you got Democrats saying, nah, you don't see that. And if you think that, then you're xenophobic. Nigga, we ain't talking about no damn xenomorph. We're talking about you moving these damn Tren de Agua niggas into our neighborhood. We're seeing this stuff with our own eyes. The Democratic Party can't come in and tell us, well, they're going to be moving out immigrants and they're going to be mean to black immigrants too. We see how the black immigrants think about us. We don't give a damn about them black immigrants. Get them all. Matter of fact, start with them. I would love if Donald Trump, once he gets to working up that number 6 and all these immigrants, please start with the Nigerians first. Start with the Nigerians first. Please. I'll even give you names. Start with Lovey Ajayi first. right? Start with that Nigerian that played Harriet Tubman in that movie second. Like start with the Nigerians first. That whole you can't kick out immigrants because some of them are black shit is long gone. That whole, hey, you can't let them do this to the LGBTQ because some of them are black, that shit long gone. We know what these groups of people think about us. They can be the first ones to go. They can be the first ones to get dealt with. Fine by us. You want to set the Democratic Party back, and you want to get these two political parties back into a state of parity where things are more even as far as power distribution. I remember when it was like this for the Republicans during 9/11. During 9/11, the Republicans had absolute power. Absolute power. You couldn't even criticize them. You would get canceled. I remember the Dixie Chick said something about that damn war. The next thing you know, it was goodbye Earl. Like, you couldn't say or criticize or do anything. It was a total dictator state. And that's what we've reached, and we don't have the balls to say it. We're at a dictator state with the Democratic Party. Whole things have gone on. Whole things have gone on that they've just gotten away with. People don't even forget Palestine for a minute. Y'all remember East Palestine, Ohio, where a damn chemical train fell over and infected everybody? This was some Resident Evil Raccoon City level shit that the media just agreed not to talk about because it would make Trump look bad. I mean, it would make Biden look bad. Plumes of chemical gas going off in the sky. They had to blow up the train. They had to burn the train because of the chemicals. Just whole damn Night of the Living Dead trioxin floating into the sky. No one said nothing because we don't want to make Joe Biden look bad. We had an absolute emperor's new clothes 3.5 years of a completely clear senile president. This nigga was farting on hot mics and shit like that, wandering off in the back of offices while other political leaders and stuff are doing speeches on his behalf, embarrassing us in front of other countries like the UK and shit like that. The damn King of England had to go help him from wandering off the stage. You know how embarrassing that is? And then you guys want to talk about Trump's mental health. Like, this nigga Trump can complete a sentence. I've seen Joe Biden do speeches where he just gave up on the speech halfway through. You know. This is with a teleprompter. Got a son out there getting away with shit left and right, got caught lying about his gun, lying about his drug status and getting a gun illegally, made a whole rap song about having a bunch of crack cocaine. like, if that's not niggerish life, I don't know what is. That's stereotypical niggerish life. You're at a dictator point. You have absolute power. We can't have that. You got absolute power, but you're still telling us how powerless you are to do some shit for black folks. Don't make no damn sense. Throw the whole party away. Throw the whole Democratic Party away. Time to back up. You want to set this party back. Donald Trump is going to come in, even if he doesn't promise you shit. The easiest way to get things done the way you want them is to go with the people that are doing what you want to do naturally. Donald Trump is going to come in and do some things naturally that he's not doing for black people, but it has that trickle down disproportionately effect that the Democrats always talk about. Getting rid of these immigrants helps the black community out greatly, not just for jobs, but it takes the Democratic Party's power away. Their plan was to replace black votes with immigrant votes. That was the plan. That's off the table now if Trump wins. Off the table. That's a big victory for you. And what you need to start doing going into 2028 with a game plan is now you need to start going after these black political caucus members. These people exist and are only in office because they're in black districts, black counties, black towns, black cities. You 100% control that vote. 100%. You control that vote so much, you don't even have to get them voted out of office to affect the party as a whole nationally. Because what those 50 plus Congressional Black Caucus members do is two things for the Democratic Party. That's huge. Number one, they've been a 50 plus rubber stamp vote for Nancy Pelosi for decades. Being the congressional House leader is hard. You have to cobble together votes from a bunch of different people that have different constituents in different parts of the country that don't agree with each other, and everybody has their own goals, and you got to offer people stuff that makes it worth it for them. We see how Joe Manchin, just one guy, can work all of Congress and hold everything up. So imagine if you had 55 people that all had different things they wanted and we're all pulling Joe Manchins, but you don't have that. The Congressional Black Caucus is a rubber stamp for Nancy Pelosi. They do everything she says without question and not demanding anything in return. That gives her a lot of power. She starts off anything she's trying to do with 50 plus votes right off the bat without having to do anything, which allows her to go to other people in the party and start making concessions. And that's how she builds her power base. That's how she builds cooperation. The second thing all them Congressional Black Caucus members do is you don't have to spend much money on their elections because they're in black areas. And they come in and they play the black folk game. Hey, I'm like you. I look like you. I love chicken too. And we vote for them. And they don't got to spend any money, which allows the Democratic Party to do what? Spend their money elsewhere. Spend their money in more contested races. Expand into political territory that's not normally their own. But if you're coming out of 2024 with a fat L on your head, and you're going into 2026 in the midterms, and you're getting hit with congressional challenges in these black cities. And again, doesn't matter if those challenges have a single chance to win. What the goal is to drain resources and focus. Now during the midterms, they got to focus on all these black Congressional Caucus members that are going to be up on the ballot. They got to spend money on campaign ads and touring and doing stump speeches and shit. That's draining resources and focus and time and energy that could be spent doing what I said, expanding, going in more contested races. You never want to be in a position politically where you got to go reassure your base. That means you're losing. That gives you a scattered focus. You want the Democratic Party coming out of 2024 with egg on their face. You want those exit polls to show, yeah, the black vote showed up, but they showed up a good amount voted for Trump, more than blacks have voted for Republicans in decades. That's saying something. That's a divorce. The black vote cost the Democrats the election. You want that. And if you're black men in particular, you want to be like Ron Isley in the Keep It on the Down Low video in the desert. I did this to you. Yeah, it was me. I'm the bad guy. I ruined the party. I just killed your goddamn boombox. You want to be the bad guy. You want to be the reason they lost. You want to, and what you want to do, and this is what I'm saying where victory is, don't go out like a bunch of Bernie Sanders followers. Don't go out like Bernie Sanders, where you sitting back apologizing and kowtowing and bowing. Go out like Jill Stein, where you double down on that shit and say, and what? Be a better political party. Then you ain't gonna worry about me. 2024, the Democratic Party is going to try to come out at first and come out heavy on black men and blame black men. And how you combat that is to absorb that. Yeah, we did it, nigga. Yeah, that was us. We did that shit. And what are you going to do about it? You're not going to be able to exact any political revenge right now because you're on the defense. All those immigrants you thought you was going to replace us with, Donald Trump's marching them asses back down to the caravan of love right now. So there goes your little ace in the hole. So yeah, black men, we did that. Be a better party. You don't got to worry about that shit. Nigga being loyal to you for 60 damn years. You don't do a damn thing. And now you're mad because niggas fell off with you. That's exactly what happens. It's exactly what happens. And not only do you got an L in 2024, but Newsflash. Shit, we done spun the block and we're coming back at your congressional black caucus coons for 2026. And now you got to spend money. Since you was talking shit and trying to blame black men, now you got to spend money defending these congressional black caucus members so you can have your little puppet Congress members still in the office. And yeah, even if you retain 100% of those congressional black caucus coons, you had to spend money to do that now. It's not a free lick anymore. Like an insurance company, you can have a car that's worth $10,000. You can have a car that's worth $50,000. You can have a car that's worth $100,000. But if you get in a car accident and the insurance company realizes that it's going to be $100,001 to repair it, right off, throw the whole car away. You're going to have to spend money on congressional black caucus members, something that's unheard of in the past. And then you're going to be going into 2028. Ain't no Donald Trump to rally people behind no more. It's going to be a regular Republican president. It's going to be a regular Republican president with a much more efficient Republican Party behind him this time. Because the Republican Party isn't really behind Donald Trump. Donald Trump is kind of a rogue agent. He's kind of doing his own thing. They don't really like Donald Trump. They would rather go back to the establishment way things are. But they'll take a free victory. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be going into 2028 having lost 2024 because of the black vote, black men in particular. We did it. You can't just leave the Democratic Party and leave America in this state. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Right? I hope you change. They're going to be leaving 2024 with a fat L on their head if we do this right. Going into 2026, worried about black congressional caucus members and having to spend money to defend territory rather than moving forward, which will mean that they'll be going into 2028 with no immigrants to back them up, playing on the back of their feet, playing defense. And the black vote in play could go either way. Now we've reset the table. Now you got to come over here with some respect. Now you got to come to us like you come to the Jews, like you come to the gays, like you come to the white women. Now you got to come to us with some respect. And Mr. and Mrs. Black Vote, can you please come out to play? That's how we want you to. Check your tone, fiddler. I'm going to use a wrestling reference because I'm old. There used to be this wrestler named the Ultimate Warrior. And he was wrestling against this other wrestler named Andre the Giant, big old dude. And we know wrestling's performative, right? It's just, it's athletic performance. It's not really a fight, but the bumps and bruises are real. And Ultimate Warrior, I was listening to this guy tell this story about how back in the day, the Ultimate Warrior would take these fights too seriously. He'd really be trying to hit people and hurt people. Now, Andre the Giant's this giant dude, as the name would imply. He's 7 foot tall plus 500 something pounds. And these stats were real. And Ultimate Warrior would come off the ropes and hit Andre the Giant as hard as he could to make it really sell. He'd really hit him. He would really stiff him. Andre the Giant kept telling him, hey, man, whenever we do this show, you always come off the ropes too hard. You hit me too hard, man. You got to chill out. Ultimate Warrior would, yeah. Next fight, still do it. Next match, still do it. Next match, still do it. Till one day, Andre the Giant said, I got something for your ass. And when Ultimate Warrior came off them ropes, came to hit him, Andre the Giant put his arm out. Nigga ran right into this nigga's big ass 500-pound arm. Almost knocked Ultimate Warrior clean smooth out in the middle of the match. And remember, Ultimate Warrior is supposed to win the match. He's supposed to be the hero. But you sitting there dazed and confused with birds spinning around your head. The next match, when they're doing that match again, Ultimate Warrior coming off the ropes. But he's coming off real ginger and making sure not to hit Andre the Giant too hard. Now he's playing the game like he's supposed to play. That's called act right. Straightening. Correction. That stiff arm that Andre the Giant gave him consequences. When I was telling you, don't clothesline me so hard, because it's hurting me, you didn't give a damn. But when I made it clear, hey, man, I wouldn't come off them ropes trying to clothesline me so hard because this stiff arm might hurt you. Now you understood the mission over and out. 2024 is not about us getting any tangibles. Abandon all hope, all ye black voters who entered this election. That's not what it's about. Victory for us in the black vote is 2028. But we got to put in the work in 2024 and 2026. We vote for Trump or for Stein or for Cornel West. The reason why I say Trump consistently is because the Democratic Party has done a lot of work to remove Jill Stein, Cornel West, RFK from the ballot in many states. But they can't remove Trump. I don't want us voting too much in Trump's favor because then the Republican Party could spin that like, oh, well, black folks just love Trump's politics. That ain't the case. We hate the Democratic Party. See, Muslims in Detroit, Michigan are openly saying, we're voting for Trump, but not because we like Trump, because Trump then flat out said he's going to put a Muslim ban in and everything. They're like, yeah, we don't like that, but we hate the Democratic Party right now because you're blowing us up in Lebanon, in Gaza. We need to send a message. I can't in good faith vote for that. Trump might even say, I'm going to do the same thing. He wasn't doing it. You're actively doing it right now. We got to get you out of there. That's standing on business. We got to stand on business this election. Vote against the Democratic Party. Vote against Kamala. Absorb all hate and judgment from society and from the party especially. Eat that shit. Eat that hate. Absorb that hate. Be the bad guy. There's power in being the bad guy sometime. If all they got is shaming you for being the bad guy, but you don't got no shame, they don't got to play. Absorb that shit. Then we go after their Congressional Black Caucus puppets in 2026. Does not matter if we win a single election. Does not matter. The goal is to get them to spend money and time and focus in those areas, which will pull them away from their real battles. You do those two things in 2024 and 2026, the Democratic Party will be bowing down to you in 2028. And the Republican Party will make moves to try to court you. Signing out.